Hi, everybody. Today we're talking about ternary form, and I had you read a short guide I wrote on the topic. Ternary form is just three-part form, A, B, A prime, and we are going to start our investigation by analyzing a simple ternary form, which means that each section has an internal organization that's not too complicated. In fact, the particular piece I've chosen to share with you is probably one of the shortest ternary forms that I know of. We are going to be looking at two pieces by Robert Schumann today, featured composer of the day. And we are going to start with the third piece in his Opus 68 collection titled Album for the Young. Let's take a look. So here is the score of the piece that we are going to be analyzing. I'm going to play a recording of this piece, and while you are listening, I want you to listen for several different features. First of all, the key areas. And as you identify the different key areas, think about the relations between the keys that are used. I would also like for you to think about phrases and cadences. And I will invite you to try to hear 4-bar phrases here. That could be debatable, but let's go for every 4 measures, hearing a phrase with a cadence. The goal of this activity is for us to be able to write a form diagram that shows the phrases, their relationships, the cadences, and the key areas of this simple ternary form. Let's listen. So now that we've heard this piece, let's talk a little bit about those key areas. The piece starts and ends in C major. Notice that in measure 17, we get a return of the original melody back in the tonic key of C major. So our A section is going to be measures 1 through 8, and the return of that A section will be measures 17 through 24. The B section, however, is in a different key. Do you see all those F sharps in there, starting in measure 9? That is going to imply the key of G major. Please note that the key relation between C and G is closely related. Why? Because the key signatures are just one sharp apart from each other. C major having no sharps or flats, and G major having just one. With this in mind, we can go ahead and make a big form diagram with the large sections, like this. I'll go ahead and put in my key areas. Notice when I do this, I am using Roman numerals not to refer to a chord like we're used to doing when we do Roman numeral analysis of a piece, but rather I'm using Roman numerals here to show key relationships to the tonic key. Okay, now what I did, if we wanted to assume that we have 4-bar phrases, I've added those into the form diagram. Now, I would argue that someone could easily say we have 8-bar phrases, particularly with how this recording was played, where not much respite was taken in measure 4 as compared to measure 8. But for the sake of consistency here and a little bit of practice with cadences, let's think about what they would be if we go every 4 bars. For the first A section, measures 1 through 8, I would have an implied half cadence at the end of measure 4, and then an implied imperfect authentic cadence in the tonic key in measure 8. It's imperfect because the 5/7 chord is inverted. Now let's take a look at the B section. I hear a similar phrase structure, where at the end of measure 12, I'm hearing an implied half cadence with dominant harmony, and then a perfect authentic cadence in G at the end of the B section. Finally, when we get to the A prime section, the return of A, I would hear a similar phrase structure to the initial iteration. Notice this time the final cadence is actually perfect authentic because the lowest note we have in the 5/7 chord is indeed scale degree 5, so it's in root position. And there you have it. Let's take another listen. I hope you liked that little piece. It's a lot of fun to play. If you're learning how to play the piano, or even if you've played for a long time, it's a fun one and not too hard to read. If you liked that, you will probably like the next piece that we're going to take a look at, another piece by Robert Schumann, another piano piece, except it's going to be a little more complicated, being an example of compound ternary.